news or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Just tooling around. And all the remarks.
Testing,
oh my gosh,
hello.
Water, yo.
Right. We're not really close.
All I could think about was the DEC rep.
When she
here,
said, yeah.
when she was talking about it, and I wasn't going to get into it with her. I was like, "You're gas."
All right, I think we're good to get started.
I want to see you jump your ass in there.
We're good. Okay.
But that's,
Not a lot of people. Okay. All right. I'm going to call this meeting of the Environmental Protection Committee to order at 1:05 p.m. on August 18th. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. Okay. There we go. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Legislator Garland.
here.
Kelly.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Meeker. Absent. Chairperson.
Here.
Quorum present.
First order of business is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Any additions or objections or corrections? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Next up, we have a request from the Onondaga Water Environment Protection we have two matters from WEP. All right, Commissioner Dyer, good to see you.
See you as well.
First thing up is the public hearing regarding the amended schedule of sewer rents for the Onondaga County Sanitary District.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Sounds good. All right. So the proposed change to the Onondaga County Sanitary District sewer unit rents continues the work undertaken under the past 5 years to make the sewer rent structure more equitable and reflective of actual usage. The proposal would reduce the assumed annual usage from 85,000 gallons to 70,000 gallons per sewer unit. This adjustment is intended to better align costs with usage and ensure that customers placing the greatest demand on the sanitary system bear an appropriate share of the system's cost. This is part of the county's ongoing effort to maintain a fair, sustainable, and financially responsible sewer rate structure while continuing to provide reliable sanitary sewer service and support necessary system investments.
All right. I did have a couple questions on this. What was the impetus to make this change? Are we seeing different usage patterns that would necessitate this? Because I know we made the same move last year, going from 100,000 to 85,000. Is there a trend that WEP is noticing?
This is all part of the plan, right? It was originally, so last year we reduced it by 15,000 gallons, and this year we reduced it by another 15,000 gallons. That's just, it's part of the overall plan.
What overall plan is that?
And ask Christy to help out with the details.
New percentage unit estimate.
The goal is so that our industrial and commercial users are obviously our highest users of the system. So one unit was originally, over the last several years, it started at about 140,000 gallons. So each household is paying a higher proportion because they're not using that. So what we've been trying to do is to reduce the number of gallons per unit down to what a typical household is, so that the users that are putting the largest burden on the system, our industrial commercial users, are bearing a greater cost in that, so it's more equitable in terms of what people are actually
We've
using.
heard that. I asked about a plan that was referred to. Is there a plan? Is that in writing? I'm trying to help set expectations for users so that, is there a realistic expectation
so we've been
that
trying
this
to
is going to
reduce it.
change
We've been
next
doing
year?
it anywhere between 5 and 15,000 gallons a year to try to reduce it, so it wasn't a sticker shock to our users, the commercial ones. So that's why we've been doing this gradually. We're getting very close to the point where now an average household we're getting very close to what that would be. So then at that point, there would be no further reductions in the gallons.
Is there a number that we're anticipating is going to be a more realistic reflection for average users?
So average household is anywhere between, I think, about 50 to 60,000 gallons, I can get you back the number, so that's probably where we're looking.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and again, just trying to kind of provide some reassurances and set
Absolutely.
expectations. I don't need to hold you to anything now because these numbers obviously change from year to year. But as we're approaching the 55 to 60,000 gallon general area, is that when we would expect these changes to slow down
Correct.
or stop? Okay. Go ahead.
Can you speak to the impact that the ratepayers will see? Will this be like, will they not notice anything in the sense that what they're paying will stay flat? Will they see a decrease?
So we haven't finished calculating what the sewer unit rate will be. So right now we are just changing the gallons per unit. We're still working through the 27 budget process. So I can't tell you what the rate per unit will be yet.
What would the goal be? What would the desired outcome be?
So there's not a set goal. It has to obviously balance the expenses and the revenue in terms of that. So I don't have it. There's not a specific number that we have in mind.
But if I understand, forgive me for being slow, we're reducing this number because there's going to be a greater demand with industrial users in the system, right?
No, it's not because of more industrial users. It's who's using them. So obviously your commercial industrial users are putting more wastewater into the system.
Right.
So it's trying to transfer those costs from our average household to those that are actually putting the greatest demand on the system. We've done it strategically over the last couple of years because obviously we didn't want to take it from 140 gallons down to 85. We'd certainly get some feedback on that. So it's
Right.
just, strategically trying to right-size the rate structure in terms of gallons per unit is.
And so what I meant by an ideal outcome is when we right-size that, will ratepayers see no real change, or optimally will they see what they're paying go down?
So the more units, so that depends. That's not an easy question to answer.
All else accounted for, this means a smaller chunk of the pie is coming from the residential users as compared.
Proportional, yes.
Right. So all else being equal, that's the outcome, which I think
Correct.
is great. I think residential, we could use all the help we could get at this point.
Correct. Did that answer your question?
Not directly, but I understand the ambiguity with it. I recognize that reducing the pie, I'm just, in terms of what they ultimately see, it sounds like ideally it would remain flat.
The rate?
Right. That they won't see a substantial change, and that's part of why we're phasing it in more slowly.
Correct. Yeah, it's phased in over time. Your industrial users will see it. As if an industrial customer, if the gallons per unit goes down, if you were 5 units this year, you'll obviously be more than 5 units next year because of the way the math works out. So, but we've tried to strategically do it over time so that it is not a shock to the users.
Okay. So really the reason for this is to basically, like you said, to right-size it as opposed to being a revenue, generator.
Correct.
It's just a way to make things perhaps more straightforward for users who are, the vast majority of whom are in that area of one unit.
Correct.
Okay. Are these, and sorry for a couple of dumb questions here, are these units going to be for residential only? Is this for commercial? Does that?
So that's a unit is developed based on, so there's a structure in terms of our things. One family household is 1 unit. Apartments, it depends on the number of dwellings and different things like that. Commercial, there can be depending on the number of units or based on actual consumption. Industrial and commercial users are actually done based on the water meters and what the actual usage is of what they're putting into the system.
Okay, so I'm sorry to be dense on this. So the 70,000 gallon unit, would that also apply for commercial folks? They would
Yes.
just presumably they might use more of them if it's
Correct.
a
That's-
laundromat or a
yes.
car wash or something. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And again, just to be dense, if we're right-sizing this to be, more appropriate so that 1 unit generally approximates what a household uses anyway, it doesn't, again, I don't need to hold you to this necessarily, but it doesn't sound like this would result in much of a revenue change for folks, or I'm sorry, much of an expense change for folks who are, a single household and kind of in that 1 unit area.
Correct.
So this is basically the only users this is going to affect are people entities, businesses who may use, several units per year.
Correct.
Got it.
But I would argue also, and I don't mean to disagree with
Please do.
the chief financial officer of the county, this is just a math problem. We're dealing with, shifting parts and proportions and percentages, and by right-sizing the quantity of a unit, it means that there is a greater proportion of the system's total costs coming from another source. So again, all else being equal, not to say that the rate won't change, et cetera, et cetera. Definitionally, that means fewer costs to the residential user.
100%. You are 100% correct.
I think that's important context.
Thank you.
Do we have any expectation about when the commissioner's report on this is going to come out?
Yeah, so there is a commissioner's hearing that's set. It was set in the, or excuse me, it was advertised in the Post Standard and in the, I believe it's August 27th. And yeah, so that's when the commissioner's hearing will be, and the report will come out shortly thereafter.
Okay. So the report will come out after any opportunity for public comment or anything like that? Because that would be at the I assume, sorry, go ahead, I'll let you.
Yeah, the opportunity for public comment will be at the commissioner's hearing.
Is that hearing typically well attended?
Depends on what it is. I think do you have any idea now what some of the expected findings would be in the commissioner's report? I'm not sure what you're referring to by findings.
Are you likely to, is the report, just to get a little bit of a preview of it, is the report likely to discuss, some of the things that we've just talked about today, just as far as, the reasoning behind the change, creating, a more right-sized unit for single houses? Is that generally the subject area that you would expect the report to touch on?
So what I try to do is to be as consistent as I possibly can. So I will utilize this conversation that we're having today and essentially put it and have a similar conversation during the commissioner's hearing. That will then be put together with the affidavit, the posting, and all that, and then sent off and sent to the legislature's address.
And I think getting down to brass tacks here, anybody feel free to jump in, but ultimately we want people to pay for their use, for what they're putting into the system, and not pay for what they're not putting into the system. And I understand there's obviously a rationale to doing it in a measured way, so we're not giving people the sticker shock that you referenced, but I mean, that's all this is, hey, let's make the number make sense to people so they're paying their fair share.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, and I appreciate the explanation. So that that's the rationale behind this certainly makes some sense. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Anyone else have any?
Hi.
Go for it.
Thank you. I just had a question on, so we're charging per unit, which is, then we're changing that definition. Is there a reason why is that kind of how we've always done it here in Onondaga County, or is there a reason why we're not doing it directly tied to how much people are using? Does that make sense?
So this is the way the sewer unit charges have been set up in the county for years.
Yeah.
Stuff 1 unit per household. It's broken down by apartments, and then commercial industrial users are actually based on consumption. So that is the historic way we have charged sewer units in this county.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we did have one proposed amendment to the resolution, which would be changing the date and time of the public hearing and moving it a few days earlier so that it's not overshadowed totally by budget issues. And that would be a change from October 6th at 12:45 to October 1st at 4 p.m.
I would argue that this is a budget issue, is it not?
Yes, and this would give us a chance to discuss and absorb with a little bit extra time before more intense budget discussions are had. Yes, it absolutely is a budget. Yeah, it 1,000,000% is a budget issue. Okay, yeah. Let me ask for a motion to amend the resolution to change the date to date and time from October 6th at 12:45 to October 1st at 4.
I propose that we make that change.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion. Any opposed? One opposed. And
Sorry, is that
one's
the
absent.
amendment or the motion?
That's the amendment.
Amendment.
That's just the amendment. Okay. And in that case, if there are no other questions or comments, I'd call for a vote on the item as amended. All in favor?
You want a motion?
You go for it. Yes, please.
Make a motion to vote on the item as amended.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think that's it for item A, or for 1A. Next up is authorizing the county exec to enter into a utility work agreement with New York State DOT for highway and bridge improvements.
Okay, so as you all know, WEP has a lot of infrastructure underground, and this we have a Erie Boulevard storage structure that is directly in conflict with where I-81 is being proposed for some of their construction. So what this is essentially giving New York State DOT the ability to move our structure and continue with the work of the I-81 corridor. To be clear, NISDOT, State DOT will be doing the relocation themselves. All permits associated with the relocation will also be done through DOT. And what WEP and the county will be responsible for is providing any information on the structure as far as, as-built drawings and things along that nature. And also, we will be reviewing and approving the relocation plan because obviously we're taking control of the system once more once we're done with the construction. And we will also have representation on site during the construction, and we'll also be involved in progress meetings so that we have full awareness. And of course, we will the county will provide final sign-off on the construction at completion.
Are there mechanisms in place to shield the county from liability associated with their work from the state?
I believe yes. That will be fully vetted by the law department, and they have reviewed these agreements before sending it to your attention.
Is this work that was already in the FEIS, or is it something that just came up?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can say that this has been in the work for some time.
Yes.
It's not something that was recently found and we had to make adjustments. So.
Okay.
And State DOT is doing the actual work on this?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not county personnel?
Correct.
Okay. If you go for it if you got. I can take a second to think.
This is beyond the scope probably of the purview of this conversation, but I was just struck by a story today about how, in order to secure federal funding, New York State had to drop certain PLAs in terms of the labor that's working on this. And as I said, this is beyond perhaps the scope of this conversation, but I just wonder if that gave any pause to the decision-making process on our end when we're hearing some of the things that were built into this project having to be taken away in order for it to continue. My concern is about the folks in this area doing the labor on this project.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, unfortunately. I'm unsure as to any PLA agreements.
Oh,
Okay.
Maybe I can speak to
Actually,
that. That wouldn't
Sorry,
be-
Deputy Exec, can you just introduce yourself for the record?
Sure. Deputy County Executive Sidney Johnson for Physical Services. That wouldn't be in our purview. And to this is part of the contract that exists. This is one of several the state has done with us wherever there is a crossover to parts of the infrastructure. It's not working?
yeah,
It seemed to be.
it sounds
It
good.
sounds okay.
It's for the folks at home, I'm sorry.
So that, what the commissioner's putting in front of you would be part of the standard project requirements because of the cross of infrastructure, but we couldn't comment on that part.
Understood. Thank you. That said,
Okay, yeah, that was what I was thinking when I was asking. That was kind of what also on my mind. I think that's all that I have, unless anyone else.
no.
Okay. All right. In that case, I'll ask for a motion to so authorize the county exec.
Motion authorized.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, Commissioner, before you leave, if I have one more question, you know where I'm going with this. I was corresponding recently with Deputy County Executive Johnson. She said you might have some good news for me. You've done the flow meter testing on Bronson Road. The data was being put together. Do you have anything you want to share with me today?
So what I can
You
say,
can end on a high note.
what I can say is that yes, the flow metering, the physical flow metering has been completed. The draft for the report has been created. We are going through a review of the draft right now. Because the draft isn't, the final report isn't finalized, the report isn't finalized, I do not want to say too much on it because obviously it's not a final version yet.
You're building
but
suspense.
We're building suspense.
Okay.
We're building
Tune in
suspense.
next time.
Yes, yes, exactly. But
You have an anticipated date for that final draft.
we are hoping that the final draft will be ready sometime mid-September.
Okay. Just for someone on the outside, tell me what the process is that would take that long to put together a final draft.
Sure. So once the original draft comes to our table, we send it through several engineers within in-house. I have to look at it as well, and then we send it back with our comments and it's a multi-page document, right?
Sure.
So we send it back to the engineers with our comments. Now the engineers have to go through and comb through it and make adjustments. They come back to us and say, all right, we don't think we should go this way, we should go that way. It's a lot of back and forth. So it's not as simple as just adding some commas here and there. It's a lot more in depth, and it's a process. But at the end of the day, we're being as thorough as we can. Right? We want to make sure that whatever is recommended is something that will work for the constituents. And in order for us to make sure of that, we have to do our due diligence.
Fantastic. I look forward to revisiting this in September. Thank you.
All right.
All set?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, the Onondaga County Water Authority. We have a couple folks from Aqua to give an overview of their support of Micron-related growth.
This is going to be this right here, right? The slideshow.
All right.
So he can.
Okay. Good afternoon, Jeff Brown, Executive Director of the Onondaga County Water Authority, joined today by Jeff Miller, our Executive Director of Operations, and Andrew Weiss, our Director of Technical Services. So was asked to talk about the, going the wrong way here, asked to talk about, where we are with Micron. There was also some questions about PFAS. I have some slides at the end that just wanted to share the information that we have about PFAS in our drinking water as well. So, we will, I think it's important to first point out that the authority has made significant investments into the Lake Ontario water supply for some time now. We took over operations of this system from the county in 2017, and since that time, going through 28, as it currently stands, we are looking at about $125 million in investment that has been made by the authority, or will be made. And then this is just one example of what we have done with regard to the improvement projects, particularly this one at the Lake Ontario Water Treatment Plant in the town of Oswego, where we went from clarifier, very old clarifier technology, to contact basins to help and improve the filtration process. We also wanted to share with the committee, we have current excess capacity in our system. So let me just run through these numbers for you. Our current system capacity for the Ontario system is anywhere between 48 to 62 million gallons a day, depending on what part of the system we're looking at. Some parts of the system can only handle 48, others 62. Current average day taking water out of the lake is 18 million gallons. Actually, we take out a little more than that, and that's what the demand is. And then the max day demand in the middle of the summer is 33 million gallons. We project currently by 2037 that we're going to be up to 60 million gallons, and that's due not only to Micron but other regional demand. We currently have 15 million gallons of excess capacity. The folks who built this system back in the 60s really thought big and were really thinking in making sure the system was big enough to handle any projected growth. So we have some existing capacity, but we're going to need about 12 million gallons more per day is what we're projecting. Mm-hmm. This is our system. And I'll just take a moment to remind the committee, we've got 3 water sources that we draw upon: Lake Ontario up at the top left, and then down the lower left, Atisco Lake and Skinny Atlas Lake. Skinny Atlas Lake is a small amount of supply that we take from the city of Syracuse. About 3 to 4% of our demand comes from them. And then about half, the rest is split half and half between Ontario and Atisco. And you can see here in the red all of the projects that need to be taken to deal with projected growth due to Micron and other regional improvements in our economy. So let me just go through some of the projects starting at Lake Ontario. We need to replace the 3 large pumps that bring raw water out of the Lake Ontario. That's right at the edge of the lake, right next to the campus there. You can see SUNY Oswego up there on the top right. And we are going to replace those with larger equipment, better drives, better valves, to just get more capacity out of that pump station. The good news is we don't have to build an additional structure. And then from there, it's about a 2-mile journey from the water from the lake to our Lake Ontario Water Treatment Plant there. We are going to build a parallel water main there. most likely 48 inches, and to get additional flow to the plant. That is one of our choke points that doesn't get us to the 62 MGD right now. This is the treatment plant. Yeah, I showed you the photo before, and that building up at the top with the green roof, that was the interior of it. But we're making a number of improvements to the campus, and these are ongoing right now. This is our first project that really has been in the works for several years now, which is the finished water storage. We call them clear wells, but once water is treated, it needs to sit for a period of time to let the disinfection process work. So the current 2 tanks there are undersized and outdated, so we are replacing them with 2 larger tanks, also concrete tanks as opposed to steel. We're doing some expanded drying bed, and then the backwash tank up at the top left, that washes our filters. So filters run for a certain period of time. They need to be washed out, and we just pull the water down from that hill into the system, runs by gravity to wash out the filters on a regular basis. Right next to those clear wells is the clear water pumping station. Again, we are going to be modifying the pumps, drives, and valves to get more out of that. We are going to need to get more out of that because we are building a partial parallel clear water line. We need to be able to pump more water once we obtain some ability for additional flow, resulting from about 8 miles of additional parallel piping. It's actually going to go up. It's not going to go down from the treatment plant. We're going to build up from our terminal campus in Clay up about 8 miles to Bankrupt Road. And here is the terminal campus that is right across from the Great Northern Mall. We need to do some work there as far as the below-grade piping. Fortunately, the pump station itself has been upgraded recently with additional pumps. There are 6 pumps in there, so that particular facility is able to handle 62 million gallons as we speak right now. Some additional flow control, just how the water flows there with the additional flow coming in from a second pipe. We're going to need a new flow control structure. And then finally, this is the line called our Eastern Branch Transmission Main that runs from that facility to the White Pine Commerce Park. We are going to parallel this line as well. We also have some water services that are going up from the transmission main to the White Pine Park. That is also being done this year. We are in the process of constructing that. We also will need to relocate our Eastern Branch pipeline at some period of time to allow for additional development of the White Pine Commerce Park. So that's what I had on the Micron update. Do you want me to head right into PFAS?
Sure. Well, unless if anyone's got any, this is probably a good stopping point if anyone has any questions, but I don't.
I just have one, if it's okay, Chair. Yeah, you said with the larger pumps, I could assume larger pumps means more pressure in the lines. You're running the parallel lines. Will they each have the same amount of pressure? Because with the existing lines, will they be able to handle the new?
Right. It's great question. With that the parallel lines, it will reduce the pressure. That's why we are able to actually pump more, freeing up some pressure. So, yep, great question. Okay. We have a video that I wanted to play. I don't know who is in charge of that, but I gave that.
Where did John run off?
I don't think it's set up like that. We put it separately in the thumb drive that I gave you. It's not connected to the because Spectrum doesn't allow it to be incorporated in, so. It was a separate document on the thumb drive itself.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I'll ask more questions about water then. I'm looking forward to, I know you'll be headed my way to do some sampling and things like that on the, is it Eastern Maine then?
Yes.
I've also had, as you can imagine, a lot of conversations all down the 31 corridor of people that would like the ability to tap into that system. And I know there are plans down the road. I don't know if that would be an additional line, but could you just speak to what the future plans are to be able to provide services to that corridor where we know we'll see a lot of development?
Absolutely. Quite frankly, now is the time to talk with us about that. As we build out that second parallel line, to the extent new connections are needed, it's a perfect time to do that. So let's have a discussion
Okay.
about that and see what we can do to help out.
Good timing.
It's not going to work? Okay, no problem. I can go back to the slide and I'll just show you the a slide that I have on PFAS, and I can talk to it. But basically, this is a Spectrum News article that talked about we do not have an issue with PFAS as it currently is regulated in the water supply that is served by Aqua. 2 of our 3 water sources, Skaneateles and Atisco, have a non-detect for PFAS. That's because they didn't have a lot of industrial, construction around there, buildings, manufacturing. So it is non-detect in those 2 sources.
Can you just, what does that mean?
It means you can, with the current level of technology, you cannot detect any level of PFAS in the water.
Okay.
Right now, the technology basically goes down to 1.8 parts per trillion. That is the best available technology, is 1.8 parts per trillion. The regulation in 2029 is going down to 4 parts per trillion. That is within the ability for current technology to detect. So is it?
So to summarize what you just said, the regulation calls for under 4 parts per trillion. Is that what the regulation dictates?
It will, yes. Federal regulation maximum contaminant level is going from 10 parts per trillion to 4 parts per trillion.
And the technology that we have currently can detect levels low as 1.8 parts per trillion.
1.8 to 2. And quite frankly, that's somewhat sketchy as to whether that is even accurate based on our understanding of the technology. We send that out to a separate analytical facility to do that. It is very expensive technology to do that testing.
Because the first version, that sounds very encouraging. If we have technology that's sensitive enough to pick out 1.8 to 2, and the threshold is at 4, that sounds reassuring. But then what you said at the end is the technology itself is, you're not sure how reliable it is?
That is a true statement. Some technology, some testing can get to 1.8, others can only get to 2.0. That's just the current state of that technology.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not putting words in your mouth saying that you are suggesting anything, but if we wanted to be more sure, we might want to be mindful about the technology that's being used to assess these levels. That might be something that we want to be mindful of, if I'm inferring correctly from what you're laying out for us here.
I would just, to put it in context, and this is from the EPA website, 1 part per trillion, if you look at it in time, is equal to 1 second in 32,000 years. Mm-hmm. So we're talking very, very small amounts of a contaminant, but it is still a contaminant.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what we have. There are two current types of PFAS that are regulated. PFOA and PFAS. This is our testing. We have done more testing than is required over the years since 2020. We are testing every month. These are the average levels that we have seen in the water for both contaminants. And you can see the maximum amount measured for both contaminants. This is just in the raw water that is coming into our plant. It does not take into account, we have the best available technology to remove PFAS, which is granular activated carbon. This is before we even hit it with granular activated carbon.
Can you describe that? I mean, that sounds encouraging. Can you describe that process, how it works, what kind of results are typical? So if water that has 2 parts per trillion of PFAS is treated with granulated carbon, what do you expect to see?
The problem is the technology, if you see how low we are, it is not viable technology to tell whether what we are doing to it, because it cannot record that low.
Okay.
That's the issue.
Outside the sensitivity of the instrument, yeah.
Okay. So would it, and again, I don't mean, please tell me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that granulated carbon treatment, is that more aimed at water that has higher levels of PFAS to bring them down from excessively high to something that's, that's lower and safer?
Below the MCL,
threshold?
maximum
Okay.
contaminant level,
Okay.
yes. But we still have it. We have had it for 20 years.
Okay.
It is there, and
It being the technology of granular activated
Yes.
carbon.
Is it
Exactly.
used to treat other contaminants?
everything, right?
Okay.
It is our main source of filtering the water. Being turbidity being one of the main things that it deals with. When the water is stirred up from wind, it will eliminate turbidity.
And just to circle back on a point that you made, forgive me if you've answered this, but you said that this is the best technique that we have for reducing this, the granular activated carbon, but we don't have sensitivity enough to know how low it gets in the measuring instruments. So for instance, you might be able to measure if they can take it from 6 to 4 or something like that, but you can't measure if it takes it from 3 to 1.5. So how do we know that this is this the best of what we have at present?
I'm not sure how to.
Yeah, me too. If it goes below the level of sensitivity of the instruments, I'm just wondering if that's encouraging enough. But
We have the best available technology. It's been there for 20 years. It's below detection limits. I would say that is a positive thing for the customers of Aqua.
A follow-up question. You mentioned that, I think you were talking about the measurements in, what was this, in Skaneateles and Atisco lakes?
Yes.
And you pointed out the fact that they don't have, those lakes don't have industry on them in the way that the watersheds.
Ontario does.
Yes, and where Micron is going to be its footprint, so to speak. Are there plans to have more robust testing in and around the watersheds that Micron will be adjacent to?
That would not be a question I could answer. That would be for the Department of Environmental Conservation.
Fair. Is that something that you would encourage?
There's nothing wrong with testing. As we said, we do more testing than is required. We support testing of the.
Thank you. I don't know if we interrupted your presentation, if there was more to
That
come.
is the last slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Because as far as the testing is concerned with PFAS and PFOA, does current testing account for, well, let me rephrase that. My understanding of PFAS and PFOA is that there are multiple chemical compounds that can be considered PFAS or PFOA. Does current testing account for the the full range of those compounds, or is it, I think one of the concerns that I've been hearing is people are worried that, about the potential for new compounds to be developed that, are a little bit ahead of where the testing is. So I think my question would be, is our current PFAS and PFOA testing, how encompassing of the range of chemical compounds are they?
I am not a scientist, but my understanding is they have been getting better and better as the years go by. And what is encouraging is you can see on PFOA, we have stayed consistent in the level there, even though the testing is getting more robust. With PFAS, it has actually been going down. So we are very encouraged by that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not like we're uncovering bad surprises. It's actually good news.
Can you speak to the extent to which you're proactively seeking out either new testing capabilities? I know that standards are set by DC and EPA and whatnot. One of the concerns that we frequently hear from constituents is that regulators will do just what is required and no more, which on the one hand, I can understand the anxiety that is tied up with that. On the other hand, I recognize it's sort of like saying, well, I drive the speed limit, but I don't drive less than the speed limit, right? That those limits are there for a particular reason. So why would you expect someone to go above and beyond what is the baseline limit of it? So could you just, though, speak to how you're proactive in seeking out, whether it be testing capabilities or other protections of the water source that we're talking about here? Just because this is an issue that has gotten a tremendous amount of attention and concern recently, and I think any opportunity that we can to be ahead in the conversation helps everyone.
We are restricted by what we are able to do, right, as far as the testing is concerned. As I said, it's a very expensive test if to have your own equipment. So again, we are doing testing on a monthly basis as opposed to the required annual testing.
Thank you.
If we see an issue, we will deal with it. We are just not seeing an issue with PFAS right now. As far as it creeping up. The general consensus, I would say, is that PFAS levels industry has been regulated to some degree over the past 20 years. The same level of PFAS is not entering Ontario as it was 20, 30 years ago. And I think we're seeing that in the levels slightly dissipating. But we are always ready to look at what we can do in addition. Right now, we are feeling like we have done the best we can do. We have the best available technology, and we will continue to monitor it as we're showing. We have been monitoring it for many, many years.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I think this is a perfect slide that captures the fact that we're not skirting by on the bare minimum. It's borne out in the data that not only are we meeting existing maximum contaminant levels, but contaminant levels that haven't even been reduced yet. We are well within those regulations, so I think that's very encouraging.
I'd agree, and I think if nothing else, this is an opportunity to thank you for the work that you're doing and for you to be able to promote the work that you're doing. And the last question that I have on that, in terms of proactivity, is have you looked at other parts of the country or even the world where institutions like Micron have built chip fabricating places? I can't think of the right noun I want in that spot. These factories. What those surrounding communities have seen in terms of, it's part of what we're talking about. Like, this is where we are now. You're doing a fantastic job now. We have Micron coming in the future. What have you learned from what other places around the country and around the world have done to address the increase potentially in the creation of PFAS?
I just think we rely on our state regulators, right? Every state is different as far as the amount of regulation they have. New York State, I used to work at the Department of Environmental Conservation. I think they have a very robust regulatory scheme, and I think we as utilities need to rely at least partially on the regulators. We've told you what we are doing on our side to make sure that we are monitoring it, but we have regulators in place too that do their job, and I think collectively we are working to try to protect the residents of our community.
Thank you for that.
Jen, just to build on that, one, thanks for being here for the explanation, and thank you for the work that you've done and are continuing to do. And to build on, I think, what you were, some of the things you were alluding to, in the sense that there are other agencies that interacts with the EPA, just to help give the public a flavor for the bigger picture of the, of the regulatory scheme.
We are definitely interacting with them very, very extensively on all of the things that you've seen there. One of the big areas is wetlands, right? This work is going to disturb some wetlands. We are working with them on wetland mitigation permits. We are going to work with them. We have a Speedies outfall permit for Lake Ontario. We don't have air permits, which we're fortunate. But there are a variety of permits that we are working through right now. Again, the most critical ones being wetland permits, disturbance permits. We are working with the Department of Transportation too, right? We're going to have to cross Route 31 to get those lines in there. We work archaeological. There's going to be archaeological studies that are involved as we clear these pathways to put in the parallel lines.
I think that's about all that I had, unless, okay. We'll have to, I think that's about all I had. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. That's everything on the agenda for today.
Motion to dismiss.
I'll, motion made. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 1:58.